somebody could have made this movie with a different cast for $0.
Yeah, seriously.
And that's cool. Welcome to another episode of the Solo Moviegoers Club. This is a podcast in which me, Sean, and my daughter Kaya have to go see a movie in the theater alone within 24 hours of each other. We cannot talk to anybody else about the movie. We can't look at any reviews. We can't read anything about it. And then we come together on this podcast so we can talk about the movie. The goal here is to start a conversation about solo moviegoing and to eventually build a community of other solo moviegoers like ourselves. Kaya lives in Los Angeles. I live in Detroit. We both love seeing movies alone, and this is something that we like doing together, and we hope you like doing as well. So we hope today you enjoy our conversation about the movie we saw, which is
The Last Showgirl.
And before we get too deep into this movie, by the way, I have to say this is a really special movie for us because we'll get into this later, but we have a conspiracy theory about the Coppolas, and this is the first time, despite the fact that the Coppola family comes up on every podcast we do, regardless of which movie we're discussing, this is the first actual Coppola family made film that we've seen. This is also a special episode because we did something a little different. So the way this show will go is first we'll talk about the movie. We'll give you a very brief synopsis, which kind of will roll into how we felt about the movie and some things that we noticed about it. We'll talk about our experience as solo moviegoers. We will also feature something we've never done before, which is a guest, somebody who I met who was also a solo moviegoer in the theater that I was at. So you'll get to hear from our new friend Rosanna, and we will eventually read some Letterboxd and Rotten Tomato reviews, and then we will eventually decide what we are going to watch next week. So before we get into the synopsis, Kaya, what was your solo moviegoing experience like?
Well, if you couldn't tell, I'm not in a good mood. And that's just because of my life this past week. I've been living out of suitcases in a hotel, staying with friends because of the fires, and it's been really obnoxious and really sad and really scary. So I went to go see this movie alone like a day or two ago, and I was feeling a little bit hopeful about the fires. Like, I was trying to be in a good mood. I was really excited to see this movie. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. She is my comfort actor in every form. Like, I love her. And Pamela Anderson, obviously. So I was super stoked about this. So the closest movie to me at this time was Westfield Culver City Mall. And when I got there, I was greeted with not good vibes. So I go in and I have my coffee and I'm all excited. And this girl who's like checking the tickets is literally like younger than me. I was so mad. She wouldn't let me bring in my coffee. And then I like went to go hide it, like kind of outside of the door. Cause I was like a full coffee and I'm like, I'll just get this after or whatever. And she threw it away. So I went into the movie.
No, this is the first time that we've been denied coffee collectively.
I almost hit it. I was wearing sweatpants and I really thought about putting it in my sweatpant pocket.
You didn't put up a fight? You didn't do the you
No,
guys
I
don't
did.
sell a competing product?
I literally said that. I was like, you guys don't sell coffee here. And she's like, I know, but it's policy. You can't bring any food or beverages. And I'm like, oh my God, like I cannot be having like a 17-year-old girl like being mean to me. And then she wouldn't scan my ticket. Like I was looking at my ticket and she's like, I'm not going to scan it unless you throw it away. So
No.
I was so mad. I was like trying to like be in a good mood because I was really excited to see this movie and everything that was going on in my life. So I went in alone and I get in there and there is just one other lady in there and she's older and it's nice, but there's nothing playing. There's not a single preview, no nothing. And I'm just like, okay, this movie started like 5 minutes ago. There's no previews. Like, what is going on? So it's just this old lady and I sitting on our phones. And then I'm still waiting. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe there are no previews. They're just going to get right into the movie at the time that it would normally start after previews. And these two older women show up together and they are just so freaking loud, talking about everything, talking about their food, like screaming. Like, I'm telling you, I've never heard louder people in a theater. I don't even know what they were saying, to be totally honest with you. It was crazy. And they're like, this should be playing right now. Why is this not playing? Oh, good, we didn't miss it though. That's great. That's great. And then eventually we were like, okay, we need to figure out why this is not playing. So the one lady who is also really annoyed by the group, the two girls, older woman, whatever. It was all old people. I don't care. She calls the AMC that we're at and is like, our theater isn't working. And so it takes another 15 minutes for them to figure out what's going on. So it started like 30 minutes late, but yeah, that was my solo movie going experience. All three of the women in there. I'm such like, oh my God, I don't like old people, but like they were so loud the whole movie and just like chewing and like they were so far behind me, but that was my experience.
Wow. So this is so wild because Kaya and I talk kind of all day, every day, and I have not heard a word about this experience because we're very true to our art.
Mm-hmm. No, I told you when I was leaving, I wish I could have told you what was going on because I was just like, there's no way that just happened to me.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe. So we bring coffee into every movie, and this is the first time we've ever been denied. We've never, neither of us have ever been denied. And I do have to say, on like a slightly serious note,
previously,
but not since we started the podcast.
Yeah, not since the podcast.
And I just want to say, on a slightly serious note, before we get into this and start having some fun, that Kaya has been dealing with the fires. It's very fortunate. Like, you were displaced from your home, but your apartment's fine. My place
is okay. Yeah.
Everything's all right. Your water's not drinkable, or at least wasn't. You don't know if it is right now or not.
It's still not.
It's still not. Compared to a lot of people who lost their homes, that's you're very lucky, and it's very horrific what's been happening, and especially for a city which houses the bulk of the movie industry. It's just been rough. It's been so rough. Like, I feel like since COVID thing, like LA and Hollywood, the industry have just been getting nailed by thing after thing after thing. It was like COVID shut down movies, and then COVID stopped people from going to the theaters, and then there were strikes, and now there's these fires. It's just like the industry in the city can't catch a break, and it's just really, really sad.
And I know, like, during all of this, obviously people were trying to be very mindful, but like Pamela Anderson, Jamie Lee Curtis, like they were having a hard time promoting this because they're like, we know like this is like going on, it's like our home, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. It's a tough thing I think the industry is dealing with. Like, I've got a movie that we're shooting this year that we're about to announce. We've been holding off on the announcement because it's like, how can you celebrate this fun, like, hey, we're about to make a movie, you just lost your house. And it's really, you have to try to be mindful, I guess, and try to decide when life continues. And that has happened so many times over the past couple of years within the industry. And it's just, I hope this is the last thing before things start to pick up and be positive. We get little moments of positivity, and then something like this happens, and hopefully this is the last one. Is just positive and building from here, and hopefully that everyone, I feel really bad for everybody who was affected in much worse ways than you were. And I'm sorry that you're in a bad mood, because I know, even though and that's the struggle too, like, just because something much worse happens to somebody else doesn't mean that the thing that happened to you, the situation you're in, doesn't suck, because it does.
Yeah, like, I feel guilty
but it also sucks. Like, your situation sucks. So and luckily really luckily after the hotel you had like a nice place you could stay out with a friend, and like things were okay, but still, just, you want to be in your own space and not worried about the place that you live and what you're going back to and all of that. Just air quality,
no
seeing
sleep.
a place
That's why
you
I
love
look tired.
burn. You don't look tired.
What did you text me? You texted me something morbid.
Me?
Yeah.
When?
The cremation of the city you love. It was something like that. It was like right when it started happening.
Okay. I can tie this into a movie podcast, actually. So there's this Bill Murray movie, Scrooged, which is a Christmas Carol, but with Bill Murray, and he's like this 1980s, maybe, I think it's late 80s, not early 90s. I think it's late 80s, television executive. And he's the Scrooge character. And there's a moment where he is witnessing his own cremation. And so he's inside of the box, being the coffin, being cremated, and he's like still alive, and he's banging out, and he wants to get out, and the flames are starting to like tickle his feet. And I saw that movie when I was young, and it gave me recurring nightmares and daymares, like a recurring thought of, and it's one time I sold a house that I wish I really didn't sell. Like to this day, wish I didn't sell this house. And as I was driving away from the house in the U-Haul with our family, all I could think about was that same feeling. I was like, this is a premature death. This shouldn't be happening. Like anytime in my life that something happens where I know it shouldn't be happening, I get that feeling of like the premature cremation. I get an actual nightmare too, and daymare of this, where I'm in that box and I'm about to be cremated, all from that movie. It was like such a startling image to me from a pretty silly movie that I had as a kid. But that for me felt like, I don't know why, but I had that feeling about LA, of like watching a place that I love and that you live and love, and that, you know, has meant a lot to me. And it was like the place when I moved as a kid from like the small Michigan town that I grew up in to LA, I felt like I was on my way. Like that is a city that represents my dreams amongst millions, tens of millions of other people's dreams. And to see it literally go up in flames, it's just heartbreaking. Like really, really, truly heartbreaking. But I hope everything, I hopefully it looks at this moment like things are starting to settle down, and everyone will have to pick up the pieces and move on.
Yeah. With that, though.
But with
can you
that,
go into yours,
my movie-going experience, it's freezing cold. It's snowing. It was a great day to be in a movie theater. I went to our favorite coffee shop. I saw our friend Lydia at the coffee shop. I got Kai and I's favorite coffee, Birmingham Roast, iced Americano. Baller. So baller. I was planning on walking to this movie because I thought it was at the theater by the coffee shop, but it wasn't. So I had to drive and then drive to the other theater. Anyway, when I bought my ticket, I was the only person in the theater. And then by the time I got there, it started filling up a little. There were 3 other solo moviegoers and then 2 women who proceeded to talk like quite a bit during the movie and before the movie. Everybody else was quiet and fine. But and they weren't like overly chatty, but the movie going experience was great. I had the perfect seat. I was like right in the middle, the top row, or the best row in this particular theater, and it was a little quiet. Could have dealt with it.
Yeah.
It was a matinee, by the way. I saw this movie at 12:30 p.m., which is my favorite time. Anywhere really between like 11:30 and 2:30 is prime for me to see a movie. And it was, it was a movie that's been out for like a week or so now with 6 people in it on a Thursday at 12:30. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But to segue into the movie, it's interesting. We have talked a lot. Okay, so 2-minute synopsis. I guess, should I just go for it?
Yeah.
Or do you want to?
I don't. I really don't.
Okay, I'll do. Because of your mood or because of the movie or what?
I just don't know how to do it. Like.
Okay, I'll do 2-minute synopsis. So this movie, Pamela Anderson plays a showgirl, hence the movie called Last Showgirl, and she's worked at the Razzle Dazzle for like 30-something years, since the 80s. And I don't know what era this movie takes place in, by the way. I think this is a period piece. I think this movie took place like late 2000s. Because the razor cell phones and the use of a home phone and the lack of texting, all those things. But anyways, she's worked at this place for about 30 years. It's a typical like old school Vegas showgirl act with the sequins and the like Busby Berkeley kind of dance thing. I don't even know what to call it. Performance. I've never actually been to one of these shows. I just know that they used to exist. But she's done this her whole life. You come to learn she's sacrificed everything. She had a daughter she didn't really take care of. She's got this surrogate family of people who she met from the Razzle Dazzle. To her, this represented something aspirational when she was young. She got to travel the world. She was the star of the show. And as Vegas has changed, her spotlight has faded. She's older now. She doesn't have as many opportunities. She has no opportunities in Vegas, really. It's like the town, the era, the world has passed her by. And she finds out in the like first third of the movie that the show is ending. They've got 2 weeks left. And so you get to meet her the rest of the people who work on the show. You meet her daughter, her kind of semi-estranged daughter, find out that really she, because of her commitment to the show, she wasn't there for her daughter. She's also is and isn't there. Like the dynamic between the girls and women who are working on the show is unique. They're a found family, but they're not always great to each other. And same thing with the one guy who's their like stage manager, I guess. And really the movie is about watching somebody confront the thing that they sacrificed everything else in their life for start to die. And
It kind of like reminded me of The Substance. Like that theme was very similar.
interesting. Okay, so that's the movie, right? That's
Yeah,
that's it. That's the
all you
synopsis of the
need.
movie. It's a character study. It's not really very plot heavy. Those are the plot points, and everything that happens is very character driven. But the guest that I talked to today, she brought up The Substance which I was so stoked about. I told her we covered The Substance in a podcast. I didn't think of The Substance when I was watching it. I thought of this movie from, I want to say 2008 or 2009, called The Wrestler. Have you ever seen this? This Darren Aronofsky movie with Mickey Rourke. It's similar in the sense that I feel like the Pamela Anderson casting, everybody's very excited about it because she hasn't really been around as an actor in a while. And then she comes back and does this thing that sort of reflects where she is in her career, but also playing this tragic character. And the movie, the Wrestler, was also shot on film. And I think it was shot on film. Oh, I'm going to have to look that up. I'm going to fact check me. The Wrestler had a similar handheld feel. It was a lo-fi movie compared to Darren Aronofsky's other movies, and it was Mickey Rourke, who hadn't been in a movie in a while, and it was sort of like his Hollywood rebirth, playing this character Randy the Ram, who had sacrificed his whole life for wrestling and then burned out at wrestling and was kind of a failure and had an estranged relationship with his daughter, who was played by Evan Rachel Wood. But this movie felt like the feminine energy version and feminine life experience, female life experience version. Somebody who's like super into like gender studies is gonna like destroy me on everything I just said right there, but I don't care. That's my take on it, right? Is that I feel like this was the female energy, female life experience version of The Wrestler.
Yeah.
And that you'll hear later when you meet our guest, who I spoke to in the theater, that she compared it to The Substance. And I brought up, I was interested. Our guest was a woman who was a little older than me, who I only know that because she said she's retired, but I was interested to hear like what her and her life experience, you as a young woman, and then me as a dude, all would have different perspectives on these things that are very much based on our life experience and how we relate to the movie. So with that, I guess, did you like the movie?
I really liked it for a lot of the movie, and then I felt like it fell flat, and also like some of the points I didn't necessarily love. Like I felt like it could have been longer maybe. I just didn't like the way that it ended. And I didn't really love the dynamic with, I can't remember his name, the stage manager, whoever is in charge. Eddie, yes. Eddie's relationship with
Shelley.
with Shelley. Like I felt like that point didn't need to be there.
Yeah, I have to say, while we're talking about Eddie, like Dave Bautista is amazing. That dude is like the best part of everything he does. I feel I've been for a while wanting to put him in a drama. I think he was really good. I really loved him in Glass Onion. He's really good in that M. Night Shyamalan movie and Knock at the Cabin. And to see him in a straight drama without any genre elements was really exciting to me, because I think obviously like Pamela Anderson's incredible, and the whole cast is good actually. I know Pamela Anderson's
I love all of them.
Yeah, like she's getting all the attention because she's the star of the movie, and we haven't seen her in this kind of role ever. But I think like across the board, acting in this movie and casting are just phenomenal. I love
the song.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
I
really
love her.
good.
She's really good.
What was she? London Tipton.
London Tipton, yes.
Yeah, from Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, a show Kaya watched when she was little, if all of you aren't aware. But yeah, I love the way the movie was shot. I guess that's why it reminded me of The Wrestler. Is like I would love to look deeper into this. Like clearly this movie was shot on film. It was anamorphic. I am curious if did you fact check me on the
It
wrestler
was
being shot on
16
film?
millimeter.
16 millimeter. I think this was 16 millimeter too, because I like saw a
Okay.
lot of grain on the screen. It also like definitely anamorphic, and whatever kind of glass they used, you could see the grain of the glass, like all the aberrations in it,
Mm-hmm.
in the lens flares, which I thought was beautiful, which really also added to the like faded glamour of
Yeah.
this character and of her world.
It like it looked so beautiful, but it also looked the way that like Vegas actually makes me feel, which maybe isn't a great thing, but there was like something about it that I really loved.
I love Vegas, by the way. Like
I know.
this
I
is a
know.
I do. And I like I like the Vegas that this movie portrayed. I like the I don't know what it is. Actually, I know exactly what it is. I like the fact that Vegas is a place where nothing is pretending that it's something it isn't. It's a place where like people
Mm-hmm.
go there to engage with their vices. It's a place where people go to lose money. It's a place where people go to kind of like crash and burn. It's a place where like it's acceptable that you're going to be experiencing the seedier side of life. And these people are living right in that world. Like Jamie Lee Curtis's character is
So good.
she just like she knows who she is and she's fine with it. She's an
Yeah.
alcoholic who's going to gamble.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. She's going to make just enough money to be able to do those things. And I think there's an interesting like and this is actually what I love about Vegas is that so much of society is a veneer. It's people pretending to be more perfect than they are, and there's an element of Vegas that just does not care. It's
Yeah.
like it owns this. And what I think is so interesting about it is that clearly these people are in that situation. They're in this place that's on its way out, but Pamela Anderson's character Shelley still doesn't know it.
Yeah.
She like, and that's where it's interesting because she is being authentic to her, very authentic to herself, to the detriment of everybody around her. But what she believes is so delusional. Like,
Yeah.
and it's in some ways very interesting to see a character like that. I don't know if it's delusional
Yeah.
or like
I
she's
was gonna
naive.
say that.
Like I don't know what
Yeah.
that is, or is it that her life, a point in her life, taught her that this is her value in the world,
Yeah.
and now it's that she's the world told her this is why she's worth something, and now she believes this is why she's worth something, and she can't face the reality of that thing crumbling around her because then it means she's worthless.
Well, I sort of get it too because like when she's telling her daughter to pursue photography because like you should just do what you want with life. It's better to do the thing that you love and that makes you happy than to do like a normal job that would make you unhappy. And I feel that way. Like as I became an adult, I had that realization for myself. So if I was working in the film industry, I will be working in the film industry my whole life. And if I am not that successful in the end, which I don't believe, I don't manifest that, but like her, like I would still have that like feeling that Shelley's character has because it's like all worth it. It's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, if you love something, I guess the shine never wears off. But here's
Mm-hmm.
what I think is interesting, and here where it was impossible for me not to think about this. We talk about this on the podcast, like you did. Like people often say that Hollywood is dying,
Uh-huh.
and like our films dying. Obviously, we're seeing films are having this renaissance right now. I think films are coming out of COVID stronger and more interesting. Like this movie feels like a movie that could have been made. This feels like a Cassavetes movie, or like I mentioned, an Aronofsky movie from the mid to late 2000s. Like this movie feels like the kind of movie that like the independent. I've like, I'll spare you uh my soapbox talk about this, but like the independent movie industry, I don't
Mm-hmm.
think really exists. But this is what I believe that independent movies, that system, if it existed, should be making, are really beautifully crafted character studies. Like this is
Mm-hmm.
so cool that this exists. I'm so glad it exists, and it feels like a throwback. And I hope that the industry kicks more of these out. And I think, but yeah, back to my point of it's hard for me to watch this and watch her who she's in love with you see her watching these old showgirl films and doing the dances by herself in her house, and you can see like that what used to be is still what she wants to be the thing now, and it's not. She can't see that it's passing her by. She still thinks it's great. Like, I think there's an element of Hollywood that's doing that right now. That's saying this is what we think Hollywood should be. This is what's glamorous. This is what we got into the industry for. And I think the same way that it was like the Kiernan Shipka character went to that other circus.
Yeah, the
one
audition,
Pamela.
yeah.
So this is like, okay, so here's the thing. It's like a showgirl thing, which I guess involves nudity, right? They call it like a dance show with nudes or something. There's some like technical term she uses.
That's what she
funny.
calls it. Yeah,
there's a joke. And then she is dismissive of the newer acts that are coming in. She's like, oh, that's classless. Oh, that's lewd. That's whatever.
Yeah.
That's explicit. I don't do it. And that so reminded me of the people in Hollywood who think that like certain types of entertainment or certain types of films are crass or vulgar or are beneath them. I'm like, no, the world just changed and you didn't. Like you need to adapt to the world as it's happening, and that's really ultimately like the Vegas showgirl didn't go away. It became a different thing. It became Cirque. It became whatever. It became this new thing that the current times want. And I think similarly, Hollywood or the film industry needs to adapt to the thing that people want, and that reflects the society that we live in today. Things should change. They should get more interesting. We shouldn't be stuck in the past like she unfortunately is.
And I also think she was kind of just chasing her prime as well. Like, she kept referring it to as like the show was like Paris, and how she got all of these amazing opportunities and so many people loved her. And she's still like there's an old like photo of her that they still use for all of their billboards, I guess. And like she's just looking at that version of herself and kind of trying to get that back.
Yeah, and it's funny too, maybe this is like a generational thing, but even in watching old movies, like if I watch Casino and you see some of those Vegas showgirl acts, I don't get it. I don't know why anyone would watch that. I don't understand how it's entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, what is this? Watching these people parade around on stage, barely dancing, wearing these clothes that I don't know what they are, like peacock feathers. And it's just as like lame of me to dismiss that thing that was of that era as it is for somebody of that era to dismiss the new thing. But it's funny when her daughter comes to watch her show and she's never seen it, and she's like, you gave up a relationship with me for that? I thought it would be something great. I thought the dancing would be harder. I thought it would be more interesting. And it's just, what'd she say? You're standing at the back of 80 topless women, and her response is, it used to be 160.
Yeah.
I might be combining two conversations. I think the other conversation with Brenda Song's character when she said it used to be 160. But anyways, it's faded glamour of an industry that's just dying.
Yeah. But I think it was set in the early 2000s when Kiernan, her character, went to the circus, the show that's replacing them. I was like, I also don't get this for this era either, and that wasn't that long ago.
Oh, that was insane. So I actually thought when she was watching that, because of the way it was shot, which I think was because of budgetary restrictions and because you only saw one act, I actually thought that she was at some sort of weird theater watching like a throwback show. Like some sort of like sideshow peep show, like Backstreet Vegas thing, not like whatever was the new freak
I was shocked when I
was shocked too. Yeah, I was not expecting that.
And like she was like, it was so good and so funny, and like I understand why they're replacing us.
Yeah,
I didn't.
I didn't either, but that was gonna be the biggest mystery of the film. But yeah, it was interesting too. I loved the little moments. First of all, Vegas in the day is like, again, my like love of the seedy side of Vegas. There's no place cooler than Vegas in the morning. Like, it's just it's so gnarly. And when you see her character like dancing out on the street, on the boulevard, like she looks like she's not well, like mentally
one of the crazies,
unwell. Yeah, and she's really just somebody like at the end of her rope, or somebody who's so caught up in the glamour of what used to be that that's the only way she can live it out now.
Yeah. Like if I like you would expect to see someone just like her in the morning in Vegas like that, but like I get it. Like if you really get into her, like it's just a normal thing. Like I do
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, but because it's there, it's just it's crazy.
because it's there. Yeah, Vegas in the daylight is it shows all flaws.
I have to say I did cry during this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
When?
There was a part with all like the three main girls, like Brenda Song, Kiernan, I can never say her last name, and Pamela, and like they were just like sad and crying together, and I cried
Oh
during that,
yeah.
and then I cried right after. I think it that came right after her like audition, and like Brenda Song was like, "Wait, like don't go, blah blah blah," like that whole dramatic scene. I did cry.
Interesting.
Hmm.
I didn't, but I liked the movie a lot. I love the music in it.
Yeah.
The score was good. Like that total eclipse of the heart. Jamie Lee Curtis like kind of losing it to that was pretty
Yeah,
great.
I was curious about that. I wonder if she just freestyled that or
Yeah,
if Gia directed some sort of number for her.
I want to know how. First of all, I think we were talking a little about the cinematography earlier. I want to know if they used any artificial lights. Like, did they have movie lights on this? Because
Oh
I kind of
yeah.
don't think they did. Because they shot on film, they might have needed some. But if you notice, a lot of times, like, I really love those shots where Pamela Anderson's character was against those walls that have all the light bulbs. That those were
Beautiful.
really great. And then also when she was out, that balcony she kept going to, which had that incredible
Yeah.
view of Vegas, she was very dark. And it was very bright behind her. It looked like they were just out there with like a handheld 16 millimeter camera shooting it. And
That's how it
like,
felt.
if not for the cast and the access to some of those places in Vegas, like somebody could have made this movie with a different cast for $0,
Yeah, seriously.
and that's cool, and without the music. But like, I bet their budget was really low. It doesn't like it's not it feels low budget in a bad way. It feels like a Cassavetes movie, like scrappy, like a bunch of friends grabbed cameras and microphones and decided to just go for it. And obviously, like the makeup's really great, and the hair and the
Yeah.
costumes and all that stuff's great and expensive. But like, if you just embedded with Showgirls and went to Vegas and made this, like those shots that we love so much, the shots of like her on the of Pamela Anderson on the balcony, the shots of her and her friend at some Jamie Lee Curtis at some points in the
Even
Vegas
like her
streets.
her house,
Yeah.
just like the way it looked there.
Yeah, that was the stuff. That was actually some of the most lit, but still, it could have been like practicals. They could have just
Yeah, yeah.
thrown bulbs into those practical lamps, but everything felt so real. Like the set design, the lighting, it was very vibey in a very good way. And so is The Wrestler. You have to see The Wrestler. This movie's so
Yeah,
similar to The
I've
Wrestler.
never heard of it.
So different but so similar. And also he is a creature of the stage, right? It's fake wrestling. But it's not fake wrestling. It's real wrestling, but
Yeah.
it's not UFC.
I feel like there's some sort of similarity with like Vegas, Showgirl, that life, and also like a wrestler. Like it feels very much the same to me.
It's
Like think
old
of
school
like Iron
showbiz.
Claw. Yeah.
Yeah. Iron Claw is roughly the same world as The Wrestler.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
Yeah, just old school showbiz, like the kind that doesn't really exist anymore. I guess it doesn't exist anymore. Vegas is super corporate now. Anyone who's been listening knows this. Anyone who hasn't been should know this. We have a conspiracy theory about the Coppolas controlling all of Hollywood. They touch everything. There's so many of them. They're so good. They're way too talented. Like,
They're
is
way
there a
too
Coppola
good.
who sucks?
I don't know.
I don't think so. Like,
Oh.
obviously, you've got Francis, the Godfather, the literal Godfather, and then Nicolas Cage. What, Jason Schwartzman, Robert Schwartzman? Did you see Robert Schwartzman, who owns Utopia, who is, I don't know, Jason Schwartzman's brother, uncle, cousin, something like that. He owns Utopia, which is a distribution company which produced this movie for Gia Coppola, who is Francis Ford Coppola's granddaughter, who is Sofia Coppola's niece. We're going to build a I keep saying serial killer, but it's not serial killer because that's really scary. We're either going to build like, a Dexter style serial killer style web of Coppola connections and the things that they've done and the things they've influenced, or it could be investigatory. It could be like we don't have to be the villains. We could be the heroes here.
I need some sort of
visual representation of the Coppola web.
There's so many. And then they'll marry successful too, and like they're a part of so many different realms. Sophia's daughters, Romy is now big everywhere. Like, what is this? Nicolas Cage, like
Nicolas Cage. They are I'm sure we're forgetting some like really pivotal Coppola here, but they are such an aspirational.
Wait, who's his
entertainment
sister?
Family dynasty. Whose sister?
Francis's sister? What is?
Talia Shire.
Talking about this? Yes.
Yeah, who plays Adrian in Rocky? Yeah. In the Rocky series. Yeah, the Coppolas have they've got their fingers on everything. It's unbelievable in such a short period of time too, but. We
were talking about this in the car about how we need you to like start this for our family, so like.
I'm working on it. You're following. You're the first.
Yeah. But like, who knows? We need to build this.
We really do need to build it. We do. We need to get to their playbook, and Anyway, I know the people who distributed this movie, Roadside Attractions. They distributed a movie I produced called In a World. These dudes, Howard and Eric, that run it. At least I think they still do. They are awesome and like huge supporters of really interesting movies. And I'm not surprised that I love how I say they distributed a movie I produced. They're huge supporters of really interesting movies. Okay, that's how I feel. Whatever, get over it. But they're known for like just really, really incredible. Yeah, they're still running Roadside Attractions. They're known for making like this kind of movie. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibilities that I could have contacted them, and whether we got Gia Coppola on or not, gotten somebody from the film to come on the podcast. But Kaya doesn't want to.
Well, if you do it, I just get a little anxious.
Why?
I don't know what to say. Because I feel like, okay, if it were just me on my own interviewing someone, I'm really good and I can handle that. But if it's us two, you have like better questions and better like understanding of things. So I feel like I just like, I'll let you do it. Let me just hold back.
I actually think that's why. Actually, the one episode, the audio's terrible. Don't go back and listen to it. We'll have to have these guys on again. But a movie that Kaya and I both worked on, Mr. Crockett, we had the writer and director of the film on our podcast. Kaya asked one question, and it was the best question of the whole podcast. So I would actually say the opposite. You just need to ask more. The thoughts are there. You just need to speak them.
Oh, yeah, but you talk a lot, so...
Yeah, I do. It's a problem. Well, not if you're podcasting. It's a good thing. But we will. This could have been... I think you're right, though. I think we will get Coppola on this podcast. It might have been a little too early in our development to have one on. Speaking of the development of the podcast, we would like to start hearing from you, our audience. We would like to hear what you want to hear. We want to know what movies you want to see. We want to know if you saw a movie. We'll find out. But at the end of this podcast, we're going to decide what movie we're going to see next week. If you see that movie, call us. Tell us what you think. Maybe if we're not so inundated with voicemails and emails that we can listen to your message and we can put it on the podcast. We would love to hear from you. We really do want to build a community. We want to know what you're seeing alone. We want to know why you like seeing things alone. What inspired you to see something alone in the first place? Are you listening to this and you're going to go for the first time to see something alone? Whatever you have to say about movies, solo movie going, or a specific movie that we've covered on the podcast or that we will be covering, call us, email us. I'm going to dox you right now. They're going to get your email address. So email Myrkaya, Myrkia, at deathgroundfilms.com. That's DEATH, like the thing that's at the end of life, ground, like the stuff you step on, films, like the things we watch and discuss. Myrkaya at deathgroundfilms.com. Send us your voice notes, send us your voice memos, send us your emails, send us pictures of you solo movie going, whatever it is. Send us content and we will include you as part of the solo movie going community in our podcast.
Now, I think we should segue into our special guest that you interviewed, because I haven't heard this and I don't know.
Yeah, the special guest is awesome. I'm not going to play it right now because you're going to have to edit this in. So Kai is going to edit this in. But it was really cool. So I had to decide like which person I was going to talk to in the theater. And so there's this local theater called MJR, and they have this thing. Like every movie theater has their little jingle at the beginning of the movie. MJR's says what does it say? It's something like it's more than a film. It's a great night out. It's more fun at MJR. And there's like clapping, and there was a guy sitting in front of me who did the clapping. He was by himself, and he did the clapping when the clapping came on. And I thought, character, I want to talk to that guy. And then there was some dude sitting next to me. I didn't want to talk to him, or like not next to me, but in a row a little ways away, because he was sniffling a lot, and I didn't want to have to put a microphone on like a sick dude. And then there was a woman sitting behind me. So I went out into the lobby to wait. I usually wait until the end of the credits of a movie, but I didn't because I wanted to catch a solo moviegoer. So I went out into the lobby of the MJR, and by the way, I butchered the MJR jingle, which is embarrassing. I've heard this like 1,000 times, but someone call me out on what the actual MJR jingle is because it's great. So anyways, I waited in the lobby for someone to come out, and I saw the woman who was sitting behind me. She's fantastic. She has been seeing movies alone since she was in high school.
I often go with friends too, but like right now I'm retired. So the people who I might go to see movies with, like a lot of them are still working. So this is perfect. It's a weekday, it's a matinee. The theater's usually pretty empty. You get whatever seat you want. It's a new season of the Detroit Film Theater again. And I've been going to the Detroit Film Theater since I was in high school. And sometimes I would go with a friend, but a lot of times nobody was available. So even back in high school, I was very comfortable going to movies by myself. For a while, I would go with my mom. My mom and I had similar tastes in movies, so she and I would go. She hasn't been around for a long time. So yeah, I've just always been comfortable going by myself.
Is this something you've ever talked to people about, or like when you tell people that you saw a movie by yourself, how do they typically react?
People always seem so surprised. It's like, oh, you went, not to me necessarily, but if somebody comments, yeah, I went by myself to that movie, people will be like, oh my God, you went by yourself?
Yeah, I get the same reaction. I've always gone to see movies by myself too, because like inherently it's a solitary act. You can't talk during the movie anyway, so I don't see why why everyone doesn't do it. Mm-hmm. And it is nice. I also find that seeing movies, it's interesting because it's a solitary thing, but it's also a social thing. It's like we can talk about the movie now. Like I can't wait to ask you. You mentioned that this is your type of movie because it's kind of a character-driven film.
Exactly.
Why do you like those types of movies?
You know, I've been going to movies since back in high school, going to Detroit Film Theater. So that sort of gives you an indication, if you know Detroit Film Theater and their sort of repertoire of movies, a lot of foreign films, independent films, like quirkier films like that. So those are the sorts of things I like. I don't mind an action film. I don't mind what somebody might call like mindless, but that's not really my go-to. Maybe the other thing that kind of pushed me towards seeing it is it's a Coppola family. This is Gia Coppola. I'm trying to remember, I think she's like a cousin of Sofia Coppola, or she's in there somewhere. And I love Sofia Coppola movies. Francis Ford, obviously, you know, in the pantheon. I'm going to give her a few more tries because, yeah, obviously, like visually, this is interesting. Now you're making me think even harder about the theme of this movie, other than it just being sad. that here's the Pam Anderson character who, much like she tells her daughter, well, you're an artist, you have to follow what you love and do what you love. And that was very beautiful for her to tell the daughter that she gave up in some way so that she could pursue what she loved. And then the daughter just kind of getting back at her, like, how dare you pursue what you loved and you gave me up. So yeah, much like The Substance, in a less insane manner, but still a very similar theme about what is an older woman, what do many older women feel forced to do to themselves to carry on an image of themselves that they were brought up in as being young and beautiful and vibrant and attractive.
They're flawed characters, right? The Demi Moore character in The Substance, and then the Pam Anderson character in The Last Showgirl. They're flawed, but it's also interesting because I think society is pushing them to be this image and this person, and then they take that on as their identity, and their flaw becomes their obsession with that identity that's a reflection of what society wants them to be. So, like, who's really flawed here, society or the character?
Jamie Lee Curtis, maybe in her latest few movies, and her publicity around them, kind of carrying that forward. She's like maybe an avatar for that idea of an older woman. What does society force us? What is the image that society is forcing us to conform to, and then judging us when we're not living up to it or trying to live up to it, like getting Botox, getting surgery, or trying to lose, taking Ozempic. And then we're criticized for that, even though society tells us that's what we need to do to conform to society. Oh yeah, it's definitely like a social critique. Certainly the subtext is a social critique.
And I had actually it was a much more interesting conversation than I was thinking, because she was like extremely film literate, and she hit me with something pretty quickly that I wasn't expecting her to hit me with. When I told her kind of what we were doing, she was like, yeah, it was right when this movie was ending, all I could think about was, what am I going to write on my Letterboxd? I was like, oh, wow, okay. I don't know why I wasn't. Of course, a solo moviegoer is the kind of person that's going to have a Letterboxd and going to be active on it. So I haven't checked out her Letterboxd yet, but we'll throw it up on our. We'll have to shout out her Letterboxd.
I'll link it. Yeah,
we'll link her Letterboxd because we're following her now, and I want to read some of her reviews. But yeah, she had a lot of interesting things to say, and it was really fascinating. It was really nice to talk to somebody who loves solo moviegoing the way we do. She was telling me after we stopped recording, like, the different movies that she's already planning on seeing alone next week. She's retired, and a lot of her friends aren't retired, so they'll go with her to movies on nights and weekends, but during the day she doesn't have to go with. But she also likes not having to decide with somebody else what movie she's going to see, and she likes watching movies on streaming. She liked watching movies on DVDs when DVDs were a thing, but she said, there's nothing like the theater. So with that, let's go hand
She goes alone weekly?
She goes alone all the time. This is like her thing. So she's like us. She's one of us. And I think we're going to meet more and more and more people like us as we do this, as we start talking to people in the theater. It reminded me of, I was telling Kaya that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, a long time ago, when this little hand recording device, the Zoom H6n, first came out, a company I was making movies with bought them. I basically convinced these people to buy everything you needed to make a documentary out of a backpack. And they let me borrow it on the weekends, so I would go take all this gear out. I had access to all this stuff. It was I got to build the kit, my dream kit. I got to build it and then go use it on the weekends to shoot my personal stuff. But when I first started listening to podcasts, probably 12, 13 years ago, I decided I was going to make a podcast. I never made one. I don't know, because people dream of doing things and then they fail at doing their dreams. But I went to Griffith Park, to the observatory, and I took this little Zoom recorder and just walked up to strangers who were like picnicking and doing different things and talked to them about what gave their life meaning. I was going through a thing, okay? And I was wondering what gave my life meaning. I wanted to try to find out what gave other people's lives meaning. And I had the coolest conversations with these people. Like, even though I didn't make anything out of it, I should have. I wish I had the recordings. I probably do. But it was really it's really fun to talk to strangers about something that they're interested in, you're interested in. And I had a blast talking to Roxana today. Like, it was so much fun talking to her and talking to somebody who loves something that we also love, and in that shared space of a theater. And it was really cool to have a solo movie going experience, but then have a communal experience immediately after. And I'm bringing that to the podcast. I told her too how crazy it is with you and me. Like, we take it really seriously. We do not talk to each other about the movies in between when we see it and the podcast. And a lot of times I'm like bursting at the seams with things to discuss with you. It's really hard not to do it. And something about talking to her made me want to talk to you even sooner, even more. Like, it was strange, but I think it proved our thesis that a movie can be a solitary experience while also being a communal experience. And there's nothing else like that.
I mean, even before we started doing this, like, of course I would talk to you about the movie that I saw. It wouldn't necessarily be one that you saw, but I would go online and I would go on Twitter before it was X because I could navigate it better and I wasn't banned. And like, just going through the community on that, like, people love just to talk online about things that they're doing, things that they're seeing. And I don't know, there's something about pop culture, I guess that's what you would call it, that's really binding. That really brings people together.
Yes, that was beautifully put.
Thank you.
And there's a thing Rosanna said about why she likes character studies. That's like her thing that she likes, is because she likes to see how someone experiences life and learns from it. But I don't know if we'll keep this in the podcast or not, because we'll have her saying it. But she said that this movie, she like appreciated it, but didn't particularly like it because it was a sad movie for sad people who are doing sad things. Like, it like, she felt like she was going to recommend this movie to people who were feeling too good about life to go see it if they needed to be knocked down a few notches. And I think that's so funny because that is accurate. Like, I enjoyed the beauty of it, but man, this is a downer.
It was really sad. Yeah.
It's really sad. And it also just made you think about, like, man, like, sometimes things don't work out. And movies tell us the opposite. Movies tell us that things do work out. And this movie told us they don't necessarily.
Yeah, and movies like this one in particular, I don't like conflict. This felt like there was a lot of conflict in this, but it was just so, like, matter of fact, and just like, it was a character study, obviously, so it was just about their emotions rather than like what was going on. So it didn't feel as like disturbing for me.
But you cried.
I did. It wasn't disturbing. It was just kind of like, not relatable, but yeah, in a way it was.
We should see speaking of Letterboxd, we should see what the Letterboxd and Rotten Tomatoes communities think. Let's do Rotten Tomatoes first, because it's usually not as good as Letterboxd.
Oh, never. They're tools on there.
81% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Why don't we become Rotten Tomato reviewers?
Oh, that's a good idea. We should. Let's do that. So what? This just caught my eye. Our Rel is in a movie called One of Them Days with SZA and Keke Palmer. That's at 95%. And interestingly, there's like a couple older women sitting behind me. That trailer was on because it's been on a lot, and they were like, "Wow, this movie looks amazing. Looks really funny." And like, they're totally not the audience for that movie, but still really wanted to see it. I feel like this movie's going to perform way better than people expect it to. But anyways, back to The Last Showgirl. 81% tomato meter, 73% popcorn meter. We've got Kat Sachs from the Chicago Reader. Is it possible to love a film you don't really like? That's how I feel about The Last Showgirl. Great story, amazing cast. Hopefully the Pamela Anderson renaissance has only just begun, but lackluster direction. Okay, I'm going to call you out, Kat Sachs. If you like the cast and you like the story, you liked the director because the director made those decisions. So I don't really understand what you're talking about. Okay, Peter Howell, Toronto Star, clocking in at a brisk 85 minutes. It was shot in just 18 days. This is the rare film that might have benefited from a longer runtime to tell a more complete story. That is in standing with your opinion, Kaya. Coleman Spilled from Salon.com. It is impossible not to be enchanted by Anderson's compassionate turn, and her tender work makes it all the more heartbreaking to watch Shelley refuse to go quietly into the night. All right, I'm with you. Let's find one bad one before we. No, I can't find any. I'm bored of these already. Sorry. These Rotten Tomatoes critics are, if any of these Rotten Tomatoes critics listen to this podcast, they're going to destroy my movies worse than they already do because I'm destroying their reviews every week. They're just like the Rotten Tomatoes. They're not. Letterboxd has just changed the game in terms of both engagement. What I also love about it is it's no longer a handful of critics saying, here, people, think this about movies because this is what I think about them. It's just the people who see them who are going on and saying, this is what I think. I'm going to flame this movie or roast or whatever the kids say these days. Or I dig it. Okay. Clock?
Clock it.
I'm going to clock it. Okay. Okay, I don't get this, but it has a lot of likes. Pamela Anderson God tier performance. Dave Bautista in a DX racer. Jason Schwartzman in Keemstar makeup. Oh shit, that was Jason Schwartzman. That was Jason Schwartzman.
I was just going to say that because that's the review I saw. Very Keemstar. Like, wow.
Wait, I didn't even get that was Jason Schwartzman.
I didn't either until I read it.
So Pamela Anderson was auditioning for Jason Schwartzman to get on this new show, and she did not get the job. Oh, wow. What's a DX racer?
I don't know. Is that like something bad?
DX racer? I don't know. I'm about to Google it. This could go sideways.
Is it like one of those
it's chairs? The chair. It's the chair. Yeah. Atlas has one of these chairs.
Yeah.
He was in a gaming chair. I did notice that he was in a gaming chair. And I kind of wondered why. It's just what they had sitting around. They just showed up, and that's what was there. Beautiful exterior without much substance, much like the lead character. Pamela Anderson gives a wonderful performance with what little she is given. Abrupt end with no real resolution to the plot lines in the movie. I don't agree.
I feel like all of these reviews, people are very conflicted on whether or not they are totally sold because the ending didn't feel like it fully ended.
It's like intentionally unsatisfying because her life is unsatisfying. That's the whole point. I like, are people's brains so trained on, I mean, are they very astute film viewers and their brains are trained on Joseph Campbell hero's myth and everything needs to have a hero's journey? Or are they trained on Marvel movies where everything gets neatly tied up in a bow after 3.5 hours? I'm not totally hating on Marvel movies. There's a lot I like about Marvel movies. We're in like a film monoculture. We have been. We're coming out of it, but we were in a film monoculture where only one type of story was being told for a really long time. So I'm a little bored of it, but ultimately love those movies. Love watching them with my kid. Love I don't know why I'm here defending Marvel. Shut up. Okay. I don't know the exact quote in the middle of this movie. Pamela talks about work and compensation and how you should prioritize passion and happiness. And it's how easy to work a well-paying job and still be depressed/bored. I really wish she didn't say all that. Made me feel less than good about myself and what I'm doing in life versus what I want to do in life. That's deep. Everyone start planning your Substance and Last Showgirl double feature movie nights right now. You guys are onto that. I can't believe I missed that. Gia Coppola tries to make a Sean Baker movie despite having never met a real person. Nevertheless, Dave Bautista and Pam Anderson, great sleazy Jason Schwartzman cameo, also fun. Oh, that's unfair.
I also feel like there's part of this that like was so personal to Pamela Anderson because there was a point in her like life and career where she was like washed up and like no one really cared about her, and she's having like a resurgence, which is amazing. But I feel like this is very her. And it's also like such a thing like I didn't really know Pamela Anderson as like, I thought she was just like a figure. Like not really like yes. So like I don't know, there's something about this that feels very like real life to me. Like
a proto Kardashian.
Yeah, or Elvira. Like something like that. I literally thought that they were like the same sort of thing.
Yeah, Elvira had a thing though. Like she hosted a show, like introducing scary movies. She was a
Yeah,
host. She
but
had a thing.
that's like
She had a
just
show
like
for a
the
while.
billboards, costumes, like not like
Yes, there
she's
was
not like an
definitely.
actor. Like
They definitely like the media sold a caricature of Pamela Anderson for a very, very long time, and then I feel like
mhm.
she got treated very unfairly by everybody forever, and it's very cool to see somebody like that get like she's a great actor. She's great
Yeah,
in this
she's
movie.
really great.
I honestly can't tell you if she's a great actor in anything else. I never
Yeah.
watched Baywatch. Not that's
Yeah.
something like that would be known for its acting, the acting anyways. And I don't know. I haven't really seen her act. I get yeah. Also,
Yeah.
my era, I should have known her. I guess for more acting, I suppose. But yeah, just like she became known as a media figure, and her personal life definitely her art lived in the shadow of her personal life. Yeah. One more thing. I You hit me up earlier and told me while I was in this movie, you sent me a text that David Lynch died,
Mhm.
which totally sucks. So we kind of started this on a bummer about the fires, and then David Lynch dying sucks. I feel I if theater owners don't fail us, they will start putting some David Lynch movies back in theaters in the next week. And if they
Oh, that would be
do,
cool.
we should go see a David Lynch movie.
Yeah.
So, okay,
Do you have any? Dude, I honestly don't think I've seen any of his movies.
we I really like Mulholland Drive.
That's what everyone's talking about right now, and they're like, Mulholland was basically on fire last week, so I think
Yeah,
they will do something here for that. But what else is coming out? Movies
I'm going to look right now, but
out now. Baby Girl.
I feel
Everyone
like
was
that.
talking about it, and I
I,
can't.
I
Ugh.
can't see that and talk about it with you because it's going to be weird. So
I love Harris Dickinson. Like, he's one of my favorite actors, and I can't see it. I just don't think I can.
okay, I would see One of Them Days. That's the Kiki Palmer SZA one that Rel is in.
That
It looks good. It's a buddy comedy.
But I don't want to hate it.
I
I
don't
don't
think
want to
you
be.
will. Oh,
I don't want to be honest.
if you hate it,
Yeah.
why would you hate it?
I don't know.
What about Wolfman?
No,
The Dylan movie, Complete Unknown.
I'm not seeing that. It's going to. This is what we talked about this in person, or like over the phone or something. But like biopics have a Mormon glaze to them, and like that will just ruin Bob Dylan and Timmy Boy for me. Even though people are saying it's amazing, Bob Dylan helped Timothy like singing and stuff for a song, whatever. I can't.
The Substance is coming back in theaters.
I want. I
I
don't
mean, not
know.
that we're gonna go see that because we already saw it.
I
But
know it was so good. Like I totally understand that.
I'm Still Here. That looks really good. Although we just saw drama, so probably shouldn't see another hard drama. Nickel
We
Boys.
have. Do we have one more week before Sundance stuff or two?
One more week before Sundance stuff. Nickel Boys looks awesome. I don't care. I say we see either Wolfman or Nickel Boys, but if there are any David Lynch movies that are going to be in theaters, we should go see a David Lynch movie. I'm sure they'll be in LA. And if you find a David Lynch movie that's showing, I'll call a theater here and get them to show whatever it is. Or we could see
No, this
Better Man.
Nickel Boys is gonna give me anxiety. Better Man looks insane.
Better Man looks insane. Should we see Better Man?
We can. I can't believe that's a movie.
It's a Robbie Williams documentary where he is played by an ape, inexplicably played by an ape in the recreations.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see Better Man. That sounds like fun.
Okay.
Or David Lynch. It's either David Lynch or Better Man.
Okay.
Either way, we're seeing something trippy and surreal.
Okay. Fine by me. Oh my god, it's a musical, 2.5 hours.
It's a
This
two and
sounds
a
like
half.
a you movie.
It's totally a me movie.
This is so crazy. You're a theater kid. You love musicals. You want to turn all of your movies into musicals. I can't do it. I like throw up. Like I can't. Isn't that long?
Come on.
I hope they use like.
It's a documentary.
Oh my god!
A musical documentary.
Isn't
with
this
an
crazy?
ape? This feels like
I
it was made for me.
I was literally just thinking about the fact how in an earlier podcast I was talking about how I need a documentary in the theater to feel something again. Why is this the documentary? Like, really?
Yeah, that's where we are. That's where we are as a society.
Yeah.
We can't go see regular documentaries anymore. They need to start CGI apes. It's the only way they can get people to come out for a documentary. It's gotta be a CGI ape. All
I
right.
might cry.
Well, I think that's it. Hit us up. Drop us a line. We'll work on getting a phone number so you guys can actually call us if you want to call us. But for now, just email merkaya@deathgroundfilms.com. What's that look? That's a curious look.
Dude, do you have to get a new phone to have another phone number?
No. You can do through Google Voice. You can just get a Google number. And then they leave you, somebody can call you from their phone and it leaves messages on your Gmail.
Cool.
Yeah. And you can
That's
also
fun.
use that to, like, if somebody asks for your number and you don't really want to give them your number, but you think they're weird and want to hear what they have to say, just give them that Google number.
Oh my god, that's such a good idea.
That's why I'm here. Any final words from you for this Last Showgirl podcast? Any last words for the Last Showgirl podcast?
Jamie Lee Curtis continues to be my comfort actor.
Yeah, that's good.
That's
all the
all.
actors, all of the actors in this, I liked them all before this. I like them even more now.
Same.
Including Jason Schwartzman, who was unrecognizable. I'm so
Keemstar is
shocked.
so crazy. That was a good review. Okay.
All right. That's it. Tune in next week. Peace.
Swag money YOLO. Woo.
I'm hearing our music starting to kick in, taking me into the night.